What we'll talk about tonight is N1MM INI files. Well, what are we trying to accomplish with doing this? When you set up N1MM for either sideband or CW, it's fairly straightforward. You choose a few windows that you want to use, and then you operate the contest, and then you can close N1MM, and then you start it up again, and it comes back, supposed to come back just exactly like you left it, but at least it comes back pretty close to how you left it. So sideband and CW ones, they're fairly straightforward and easy to set up. RTTY ones, not nearly so much. And an INI file is where N1M stores all its information about what windows are open, where they're located on the screen, and the colors that they are, and everything that's associated with being on the screen. So let me show you an example of what I have. I have a folder that just says N1MM starts. I have two radio. So that came from this folder over here in the upper left-hand corner that I labeled N1MM starts. And I have two radios. I have a K2 and a K3. And for the K2 one, this one is an INI, or goes to an INI file, uses an INI file. And if I click on it, it will start N1MM and bring up all the windows that I like when I do a CW contest. And it'll put them very close to where I like them. And I also have a second screen, so there's some off on another screen that you're not seeing. That's what this is a part of. So this is a pretty straightforward setup, and it's a leftover contest from before. So very simple, straightforward. So I'll close that one. This is what I use for N1MM and RTTY. So this is a similar shortcut with an INI file on it, and lots of windows here that come up, and not so easy, I think, to remember how to set these up if they're not where they were. I mean, if they moved or if you forgot to open them up. And again, I have more over here on another screen. So I got two decode windows up here, and then this is where the information shows up. Super partial here, the score over here, and the log window in this position. So this is not so easy to set up, and if you move things around or you forget, and if you don't use an INI file, and you left this one and then you started a CW or a sideband contest, then you'd have to set this up all over again. Well, there's a way to get around that, and they're INI files. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to start from scratch on how to build the shortcut and the INI file. Some of it you'll probably already have, but it's easier, I think, to go through it from the beginning, and then I will show you where you can jump in if you already have set up N1MM. Let's set up N1MM from scratch. So we need to start a file explorer, and I have several hard drives on my computer. What we want to do, though, is go to where you initially installed N1MM in the part that you can't change, and that the default for that is on the C drive. Here's all of mine, so we need to scroll down to the program files x86. That's a special file that it's not difficult, but you got to be an administrator and know what you're doing in order to make any changes there. Then you scroll down to N1MM Logger Plus. Single right click on it. And then the default in Windows, at least I think so, is not to show file extents, which is the little .txt or .baks and exes. So right click on N1MM Logger Plus, and then go up to View, hit the little caret, and then Show, and make sure that File Name Extensions is checked. And mine already was because that's what I like to see them. So you want to make sure that's checked. Then double click on N1MM and it will come up something like this. Perhaps, well, actually, it will come up more like that. So they're sorted by name. An easier thing to do is to get to the files that we want to look at is click on the type ones. And here are three exe files. The first one is N1mmlogger.net.exe, and then rotornet and SDR server. The one that we're interested in is the one that's the logger.net.exe. So right click on that and then show more options. And then what we're after is we want to create a shortcut. This is the only way I know of to get to the shortcut. So you click on shortcut and it says Windows can't create a shortcut here. Do you want to place it on the desktop instead? Yes, that's exactly where we want to put it. So we'll minimize that. And it popped up over here in a little hole that I left for it, but I'm going to put it up here so you can see it a little bit more easily. So that's the shortcut. This shortcut doesn't know how to set up, how you want N1MM set up. So double click on it and it will bring up a very minimal N1MM, the entry window and the log window. And let's say we're going to set up for CQ Worldwide sideband, which is coming up in a week or so, in 2 weekends. So the first thing we want to do, the first thing that I want to show to do is let's make a new log. And the default on that one is DX. But in any of these in this pick list, if you hit the first letter of the contest that you're after, which is C in this case, it will go to the first of the C's. What we want to do is CQ Worldwide sideband. So we click on that, and then you need to fill out these things. Let's say we're going to be a single op, all bands, low power because I don't have an amplifier, and we're in zone 3, so it filled that in, and the operator's me. And that's good enough. So we say okay. So everything's good. But now we need to tell N1MM what radio we want to use. So configure ports. And I'm going to use my my K2, and it'll be on the wrong frequency, but it's good enough. So first thing you got to do is find what port it's on. Well, I already looked and I know that that radio's on COM 8. And what kind of radio? It's an Elecraft K2. Then I need to set some defaults. 48N82, that's good. The default is always on. Way long ago, I set mine to always off. I'm not sure why I did that, but you set your radio what it takes to do that. And then you say okay there. And then we need to do one more thing for this radio and maybe other ones as well when you set them up the first time. Go to mode control and mode sent to radio when the mode is ready. We want that to be no change. And for Digi, we want that also to be no change. If you don't do this, at least for my K2, I get an error message and I have to correct it. So I say, okay, I'm connected to my radio and it's not on the sideband frequency, but it is in the sideband mode. And I can turn the big knob and it is indeed changing frequencies. Now we want a few more windows for the sideband contest. So let's get a check window, and it pops up over here. I like it down here close to the log window so I can see where the calls come in as I type them in. So for example, if I type in N7UV, it lists a bunch of ones that it might be, and the top one is indeed N7UVH. So he's good. It's US multiplier in this, so it's grayed out, looking like it's no points. That's what the color means. So we'll get rid of that. Also, I made it a little bit bigger because so you can see the letters a little bit better. Another window that is useful since we said we were going to be assisted is a telnet window. And here again, I'm going to make it a little bigger so we can see some of the pieces in it. And we need to choose a cluster. I already have it set up in here, and most of you, I think, have used N1MM before, so you've probably got something very similar to this. I like WS7I. That's Jay Townsend's cluster here in Moscow. So that's the one that here in Moscow we like to use, and we want to connect to it. It wants me to log in. So up here, I go up here and you type in your call. Don't type in mine. And it knows who I am, and now it's picking up spots. There it is in case you're interested in seeing it. That's the address for WS7I. The port is 7300. That's what the colon 7300 means. So there's the telnet window, and we don't need to see it, but let's keep it in view. Let's put it over there. And then another window that we might want to see is available mults. That one echoes the spots from from telnet, and let's make it big because in the sideband contest there's going to be lots of spots. And then the other one that I think is useful is a band map. And I put it over here also and make it kind of look like the available mults. So now that's what I consider a minimum setup for a sideband contest. N1MM will remember all those locations and it will come back with that setup. But there's one thing that I think is useful to do. So let's go to Tools and let's save the Windows positions. And now then we're going to exit it. Yes. And in this shortcut that I made, if I click on it, my expectation is it will bring that setup back just exactly like we left it. So I double click on it. And indeed, it came back just like we left it. So that's good. So if all you were ever going to do is a sideband contest and those were the only ones you needed, that would be good enough. And that one will work too for a CW contest too. You might want a few more. So we've got an INI file built. We're not seeing it, and we've got a shortcut that's on the screen. So let's go look at the INI file. So I'm going to exit this and then start File Explorer again. And this time you want to go to the folder where N1MM installs itself, in the folder that you can change things in. That's not in the programs x86. It's in another folder that's titled N1MM, then a space, and Logger Plus. You can set that up on the C. I set mine up on the D. So you go to wherever it is on your folder. I mean, whichever drive you have it on. So there, and again, let's check and make sure that we're seeing the file extensions and it's checked. So open it. Normally it will be sorted by name. If you sort it by date, you can get to the files that we're looking for in this case. But the one we're after is N1MM logger.ini. Okay. Now, if you look down some more, you'll find some more INI files. Here's one that's SO2RK3K2INI Monday.bak. N1MM makes backup files of the INI files frequently. It tries to do them every day. I'm not sure that it always is able to do that, but the purpose of these is in case the INI file, this one up here, gets corrupted, you can go find one that has a date on it and BAK, and and then rename it, take the BAK and the Monday away, and there's a probably a good INI file. Okay, so that's what all these other INI files that have dates on them. This is the one that we're interested in though. So we go up here, and if you look at it, the date is 10/13/1915, so that's the one I just built. What I want to do is I want to rename this. Several ways to rename it. One is single right click on it and then hit the F2 and then go over to just before the period and type in this case, I'm going to type in K2 SSB, and then I'm going to put a WC for workshop, just because I won't want this file afterwards, and I don't want it to interfere with something else. So then I suggest you either write down this name or do a screen capture or just leave the little window open because we need to know what that name is. Now let's go over here to the shortcut on the desktop and right click on it and then go down to Properties. In Target, the one that's highlighted, put the cursor somewhere in the highlighted area. Then use the arrow keys to move over to the end. And then hit the space bar, type either case doesn't matter, but INI equals, and then this file name over here has a space in it right there. So any file name that has a space in it, you got to put it in double quotes. So double quote N1MM space capital LOGGER K2 SSB WS .ini, and then the ending quote. So you got to have quotes around it if it has spaces in it. If it doesn't have spaces in it, then you don't need those quotes. And you don't need the path name. You just need the file name. Okay. Then hit apply, and then OK. Now let's close that. And what I'm expecting and what I'm hoping is that when I double click this shortcut, it will come back with what we left it at. So excellent, very good. That's what we're after. Now then, so let's close this. We showed that indeed it worked. Let's close it. Yes. And then I suggest let's rename this guy. So single right click it, and then you can either do a right click and go to rename or the F2, either one of those works. By the icon, we know it's an N1MM thing. So let's just call this K2SSB. Okay. And then click off of it. All right. Now then, we can put that anywhere we want. And anytime we double click on this, it will bring up how we left it. And that's an important thing to remember. Suppose that I started out this way, and then I decided, oh, I want to add the gray line window. And so that's a little map up here in the corner. Now then, if I close this now, that will be there. Okay. So very straightforward on how to do it. Once you've done it a time or two. But the key is start a shortcut from the C drive that is in, or that has program files and then N1MM logger, and then this exe file. Start a shortcut from that. Then, if you've already got shortcuts that you like, but probably if you aren't using INI files, you only have one of them. So you've got one that already has an INI file in it. So then you go to the INI file where the INI files are. There it is. So it's in N1MM Logger Plus. And again, if you sort by date modified, well, let's sort it by name, which is probably the easy one. So you go find the uh, the the INI file that probably, in your case, would just say N1MM.ini, this name right here. That's the name of the file you're looking for to rename. Then you rename it. Then you go over here, you right click on this, properties, and then you put it at the end of the target. And if it has spaces in it, you put double quotes around the name, not around the INI, but around the name. If it doesn't have quotes, it doesn't have spaces in the name, then you don't need that. Then you apply it, which I don't need to do here. And now then that one will be good for any of them. Now, so I showed you that I have several of these. This, the occasional time that I do RTTY SO2R, my K2 is set for RTTY and my K3 is set for RTTY, and they're on different bands. I want to be crazy and do a SO2R RTTY contest. So trying to remember how to set up all of those windows, and then I have a whole bunch more windows over here, or a few more windows over here on the other monitor too. I'm sure it can be done, but it takes a lot of writing down, much simpler to just make an INI file. So what I recommend is do a simple one like I did at the beginning, either from a N1MM shortcut that you already have, or just start from scratch, a simple one. Get used to how the process goes, and then you can do as many as you want. You can do sideband one, you can do a CW one, you can do a RTTY one. You can also do different colors on the screens. There's dark modes, lots of different things to do. So that's how I do N1MM INI files.